The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to the Cashman Mind, Body, Spirit Show. Today, frankly, you'll be dancing time of the show. Okay, it's about the Mozart effect. It's about the effect of us, our body, in relation to vibrations and music, and especially centered a bit more on children. And let's review a little bit to begin with. Our hearing apparatus, because that's intimately related to music, but the whole body is involved. Yeah, this is what I like to really get to. I mean, we have the auricle, okay, and then you get the ear canal, and then it hits a membrane, okay, and the ear canal, there can be problems with it. People, for example, like myself, and it must be genetic because my father had it, can collect some wax. So if you're having trouble hearing, have somebody look in there and make sure you don't have wax like I did. I had it removed. I can hear again. And then we have the next is the middle ear, and it has three bones in it: a hammer, an anvil, and a stirrup. Okay, yeah, and then and there's a little canal from the throat that goes to it. They use eustachian tube to get some air in there to put some balance in there. For example, if you're flying on an airplane and all of a sudden you're having trouble with that because the pressures are changing, and so it is in your ear, and that is the reason. And then we have the inner ear, which we have the cochlea, and which responds to loudness up to 24,000 decibels, yeah, and it's got little hairs in it, and they had to be, they're called corticels, and they had to be functioning normally for you to hear well. And then above that are the semicircular canals, which all at different angles, which reflect movement. Instantly enough, you can hear the best when you're standing up. Yeah, and the ears developed through evolution. You might say, do fish have ears? Well, they have a little line there which does orientate them, and there must be some vestibular system. So hearing really developed through evolution through thousands of years, and it may evolve even further. And there is a Dr. Tomatis whose book was reviewed. This is an excellent book to have as a reference. You can get in the library here or buy it. Listening for Wellness, an introduction to the Tomatis method. Tomatis was a doctor in Paris around 1985 or so, and before and after, and he was a psychologist, ENT specialist, and he did tremendous amount of research. And his method, he's died since that time, but his method, if you just Google it, is in many centers, including Fort Wayne here, and in many cities, the Tomatis method, and you see little kids who are having problems with these ears on, headsets on, learning the tomatis method, okay? And so he researched the physiology of hearing, and it's fascinating, frankly. What Tomatis was saying is, and the cranial nerves, part of the nervous system, are, especially the 10th cranial nerve, okay, is connected to the ear and to every cell in your body. To every cell in your body. So what you're hearing affects your whole body. So your ear it's not just here. Your whole body is an ear. And I can appreciate that because of the virus, one thing or another, I had not been, and I used to really enjoy dancing, and I didn't like to really think of the individual steps. I could feel it. I could feel the music, and I can see now that he was right. The beats and the sounds and the vibrations and the rhythm, my body was absorbing it, and I could do the movement. I even, at age 39, for the 47th time, okay, I take tap dance lessons, and I tap dance without the lessons. Finally, I told my teacher, I don't want to learn specific steps. You play some music, which you can easily dial Alexa, play music from Bach or Mozart or the Bee Gees. I like the Bee Gees the best for tap dancing. That my body responds to what I'm hearing, but also what my body is feeling. It's very interesting. So what Tomatis really said is the whole body is an ear. Mm-hmm. Every single skin cell has a connection to the vagus nerve and can connect to the ear. So it's all interrelated. Every organ is connected to it. So music is really very important in our life. And it's interesting, in children, in the fetus, in the uterus, the infant is developing. In hearing, hearing is the first thing that develops. The ear has going to it the smallest blood vessel, and an infant can hear at about 8 to 10 weeks, it can hear. And they've found if the mother is singing or like Mozart, we talk about the Mozart effect, they were playing the violin while Wolfgang was in the uterus, and the father would play the violin to the mother, she could feel as soon as she heard some music that movement started. And when he stopped playing the violin, the infant didn't move anymore. So, first of all, the infant heard the gene structure and the sperm and the ovary from the husband and wife, from Mr. and Mrs. Mozart. He inherited genetic structure, but our genetic script is only written about 5% when you're conceived. 95% of our genetic script is empty. So when they were playing music for him, they were writing the genetic script of the infant. So when he was born, he had already a musical brain. They also have found that children up to age 7 or so, that they can learn, write the genetic script and make sense a lot easier. If you want your child to be a prodigy, have a bigger brain, you can do that by playing music. They also have noticed that the fetus will react in the uterus, will react to the atmosphere of the house. Are they hearing music all the time? Are they arguing all the time? Is the mother singing to the infant, which would be a great idea? She going for a walk and relaxing and singing a song. you're writing the genetic script of the infant. Isn't that instinct? Take advantage of that. You'll have a child that is musical and happy and loving. So really every organ in your body, every cell in your body is connected to the ear through the vagus nerve, through other neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine hormones secreted from your gut and your brain to make you feel good. If you want to read more about that, to read this book I held up for you, that is written about the tomatoes effect. Read it. It's very detailed. Bring music into your life, which I do. At my age, I play the piano, and I've taken saxophone lessons, and I'm not that great because I play more tennis and pickleball. And although you wouldn't believe this, I played the accordion and the piano at Carnegie Hall in New York City. My mother had dreams. My dream wasn't as big as that. I played more tennis in Central Park. But that the musical script that was written, because I was young when I went there, like 14, 15. So it's still part of me. So like next Thursday, they're having an open mic to a dance studio in Fort Wayne, and Faye asked me to sing and tap dance to Autumn Leaves, and I'm rehearsing at age 39 for the 47th time. So some sounds stimulate the brain better than others, okay? Some low sounds, some high sounds, and it's different with different people. We can actually improve our balance and coordination because, remember, the inner ear has a vestibular system, and it can be done through different kind of sounds. Also, hearing can affect our speech. If you're deaf, you will not speak normally. For one thing, you don't hear it, but the connections to the speech or the brain do not exist. So, also, the brain, the ears respond to curiosity, to desire, to focusing and concentration. The brain connects to the ears and all affected by your ability to hear. So it involves the mind is connected to the ear, not just the body. So to bring some music in your life and go dancing down the hall a few minutes every day is a good idea. And it goes way back thousands of years where different cultures, in the Eastern cultures, the Egyptians, the Asians, they use sound for relaxation and to train the brain. And they can factor in life circumstances, whether you're stressed or not, or happy. You can dance or sing, and you can just say Om, Om, Om. That can be relaxing. And the Asians develop systems of relaxation that involve that. Actually, evolution is related to vibration and sound. How do you have absolute pitch, where your pitch is correct, but it is more likely if you had musical training before age 7. Remember what I said, is your brain and ears respond better because the genetic script hasn't been written. And if you teach it to a child in an orderly manner and a happy child, they're much more likely to be a savant or just a musical person versus a drug-addicted, sad, depressed infant, okay? So there's a lot of healing power of the human voice. Mm-hmm. There's a book written by Don Campbell. I'll hold this book up, The Healing Power of the Human Voice, but he's written many books, CDs, DVDs. Don Campbell, he wrote The Mozart Effect for adults and for children. I encourage him to look at him. He spent his whole life, and he traveled all over the world. And talking about travel, I noticed I have a bookmark in there, and as Verdi himself, I visited La Scala in Milan, Italy, and I brought home this bookmarker here. This is a picture of Verdi, a great musician, just about at the turn of the century. But I visited where he sang La Scala, and I sat in one of the seats in the auditorium and listened to some music, obviously not by him, but I visited their library and brought home this bookmarker. And it still brings me joy, and I did that probably 20 years ago. But vibrations, like the violin or the piano or the vibrations of music, affect our body. And remember I said, through hearing, through the skin, through the organs. The skin can hear. The skin can hear, yes. And the Tibetan people had certain songs, and they even used bowls that made noises with, because he created, not noises, created, but music. And they had gongs near the body. And they used different strings along with the gong, and they all had a vibratory effect that made them feel good. So the body absorbed these vibrations. And they even designed special tables where they used different gongs and different instruments and different strings, just like the violin has different strings, different notes. So it was sound, created vibration in the body and in the ear. Those corti cells picked up on that. Where does the word God comes from, for example? It's traced to goof, G-U-T-H. And what does that mean? Voice, hearing voice. That's what the word God really means. And is that connecting the beginning of the universe? Who knows? So great ancient cultures of the East, they use sound a lot. Om, Om. And they even wrote about it in Sanskrit. The Hindus used a lot a mantra. They would, repeat it. So they thought it was the natural seed of sound. And they spoke about the R, the emotion and the physical reaction in the physical body to sound and our feelings and our trillions of cells in the brain, in the ear, all interconnected. The power of the resonating voice. And that's why we go to a concert or listen to an opera singer, because the resonating voice is affecting us and making us feel happy or sad. And that's why we attend concerts, to get into a different mood. They're connecting really to an audience. And so the highest form of healing vibrations using the voice lies in toning and in chanting. Repeating and loud. That has tremendous healing vibrations, they found. I told my Alexa this morning to play Bach, Mass in B minor. The vocal sounds will, they reduce stress, instinct, and different music affects us differently. There's a car pulls up next to me, and he's and extremely loud. Well, that's a little bit too much with me. And the ear changes as we get a day older. I notice mine has. So it's important occasionally to have your hearing checked to make sure there's no wax in your ears. My father actually was living with me in the house, and I thought he was totally deaf. And for about 2 months, I took him to a doctor, and found out he had wax in both his ears. Took it out. His hearing was normal, and he was 88 years old. So interesting. So music, we have records and DVDs, and we all respond to it, a little differently. I wanted to read to you here. There are different types of vibrations that we pick up. So the beta, that's the level that all human beings experience as they go about their daily lives. The alpha, as this next level, the ordinary formative thinking mind is disengaged, allowing us to enter in the first stage of meditation. And then the theta, then the delta. This is well discussed. These are states of consciousness that we can put our brain into. But it's a good idea to, but now if you can get a Alexa machine like I have, you get one that even says the words of the song, and you can sing along with it. I'll play from Oklahoma, "Oh, what a beautiful morning," and I get bird feeders out there, and as the sun rises, I'm singing to her. You think I feel better? Yeah, I feel better. And if you're stressed out, you may want to sing another one. And you can foot tap to it too, move your feet. If you add movement to music, then the whole body gets involved. That's why dancing can be so relaxing, and through rhythm. So rhythm is the term. The length of the note is the rhythm. The tempo is the rate of the foot drop, okay? You can tap the foot, and remember what I said, I tap dance, so I tap dance to the rhythm. So let's talk about the Mozart effect for children some more. And so to play some music or sing to the infant while still in the uterus, and once they're born, make it part of their routine, okay? And so when your child awakens, you can have music at a certain rhythm, and see if he moves his eyes, or he or she moves their eyes, and moving the head when they appear to be hearing. Remember, the child can hear at 3 or 4 months in the uterus. So what do you think is going to happen when they're born? Matter of fact, this didn't have a great effects on the mother. I had a lady that used to attend all my lectures with her husband, Dr. Ireland, a chiropractor, and she listened to a lot of lectures I gave, and this lecture was one of them a number of years ago. And I was walking down the hallway at Lutherans one day, and I said, "Dr. Ireland, what are you doing?" He says, "My wife is in labor upstairs." So I went upstairs, and she had her baby. She had no pain. I said, "Didn't you get an injection?" "Nothing, Dr. Cashman. I attended your lectures, and I just picked 2 or 3 of my favorite songs, and I just had no pain." It's a true story. I'll never forget it. So that was really a good demonstration of what I'm talking about. So because even as a medical student, I remember one of the first ladies they made us be in the room while someone was in labor, and she was screaming every second. I think I needed to have brought up, she could be singing one a song from the church or something, and then all that screaming might not have been necessary. It doesn't work for everybody, but that was a great demonstration of it. And the music has been used too, in these trauma centers, children with attention deficit disorder, and they find certain kind of music applies to a certain kind of child. It may be a little bit different for every child who has attention deficit disorder. And if you look at these books I have here, The Healing Power of Human Voice, for example, they tell you what type of music you might play for a child that you have. So the music can alter the structure of the brain of the child because the genetic script is still being written. Okay? They found children who've had music instruction have an increased IQ. They've studied that. Okay? They have increased immunity, decreased stress. They interact socially a lot better. Their motor skills are better. So music improves neurocoordination. I found myself that if I'm exercising, say on a regular basis, go to an exercise place. Now I do it playing pickleball and tap dancing, but I used to go to Planet Fitness every day. And I would play music, and I could ride the bike better, lift weights better, and I even start singing to myself. All these things improve my movement, coordination, and my strength. It's connected to the whole body. So music increases neurocoordination. If the music is a little bit louder, I can dance better. And so we can expand our abilities, okay? It's the benefit of sound to the human body. And isn't that interesting? And so music improves your child's brain. In 18th century French folk song, let me tell you, mother, what's the cause of my torment? Papa wants me act like a grown-up. I bring out a little poetry and give you a laugh, okay? Me, this is the infant talking, I say that candy has greater value than reason. Sugar affects the neurotransmitters too, but sugars, in the long run, if you become a sugar eater, can make you sick. So I don't recommend that at all. Use music instead. And music speaks in a language children understand. Yeah, the brain is more receptive to music, so play it to the children. Children are happy when bouncing, clapping, dancing, moving, laughing, singing. Children are happy. And that's a good way to teach a child, actually. Play some music at the same time you're teaching them something. That works for adults too. So it communicates before they're born. Remember I told you that? It communicates. It stimulates the brain growth in the womb. How important that is. It increases positivity and increases emotional perception. So the patterns of sound build or underlie the physical world. It connects them to the physical world. It decreases emotional stress and physical pain. If you yourself or a child, for example, has some physical pain, you play some music, and they may not need a pain medication. I did that for many patients who had chronic pain, taking narcotic all the time. And I kind of brought them into musical therapy, playing certain kinds of music when they wake up through the day. When they went to sleep, I put earphones in some of them, and they didn't need the narcotics. Doesn't work for everybody, but it certainly makes you feel better. And it improves their language skills. It increases their emotional expression. It increases their social ability. It increases their reading, their writing, and their memory. and the joy of community as you walk in the room. They're smiling at you. And so the human love that the child needs, but if you add music to it, they become even more intelligent responses and loving. They may even eventually learn to sing you a song, or their first speech may be a musical expression, okay? And from the beginning of time, of humankind, many cultures, rhythms, the Chinese, the Egyptians, they found dancing and movement to advance their culture, okay? And sometimes they would have major affairs like end of seasons. They'd be dancing and moving and singing and chanting. The wave of energy, music, rhythm, tone, vibrational sound organizes matter, okay? Infants, newborns, fetuses have increased sensitivity to music. With Mozart, infants responded to it, children respond to it more, maybe because it's a bit quieter, it's more subtle. It increases sensitivity to music. And Don Campbell wrote a lot about it too. And Tomatis was in the early 1980s, called the Tomatis effect. An ear can only reproduce what it hears, he said. An ear can only reproduce what it hears. So if you want a child to speak to you, you've got to exemplify and speak to them, and they can reproduce what they hear. So the voice and hearing are connected, and it connects to a lot of what's going on in the brain. Increased frequency of sound seems to give the best results, and decreased frequency of what you're hearing, the worst results. In 1960s, Mozart came back in history. He was dead a long time ago. Why Mozart? Why do children respond more to Mozart? Because it has increased frequency, okay? It has more rhythm. It doesn't have the tidal waves of Beethoven. Doesn't have the tidal waves of Beethoven. And it didn't have the mother effect of Bach. It doesn't soothe like a lullaby in the wound. But Mozart music increased wit and charm, simplicity. The music has charm, simplicity, and seems to relate better to the neurotransmitter of an infant. And at birth, the brain is an unfinished state. Remember, I said that already. The genetic script has not been totally written. So that smells of opportunity, okay? So we have about 100 billion brain cells, but they're not all connected yet. In the end, they have trillions of connections, neurotransmitters, but not when you're born or when you're conceived. At 18 weeks, many connections are formed, real and measurable, okay? And they can determine that by measuring the heart rate. They find out it goes up or down. And they find children who hear music in intensive care, they seem to way more likely to live healthy. Classical music, you play some classical music for infants, they seem to leave the hospital earlier. They have increased motor skills, and later on they seem to have better reading ability. They have 52 increased points on SAT scores that when they give them tests later on in high school if they had listened to music in the womb or in the first few years of life. College students seem to graduate earlier. Okay, they have better spatial perception if they had listened to music, and they found as adults that there's more coherence on their EEG if they listen to music in the uterus or as infants. The ones who listen to Mozart, which are the first melodies of life, if they played it pre-birth, through the birth, and the sound of a violin, this is what Mozart's father, remember, played the violin a lot when Alfred was in the uterus and while he was being born. The baby emerged, Wolfgang Mozart emerged 1756, a long time ago. And his name was Johannes Christomus Wolfgang. And he was a child prodigy, okay? By age 4, he was nicknamed Amadeus, which really means loved by God. Yeah, with a great family he had, we're not surprised. And he actually performed to the royal court, to the king and queen of Austria by age 8, age 6 to 8. By age 8, he was writing great music. Just imagine that. He died at age 36. In those years, people died at a younger age than now. And he had written, by that time, 600 compositions. And in this one, I was privileged to go to Salzburg. I visited. I stayed in Salzburg overnight, a couple of days. I went to his original home, and I saw all 600 compositions all stacked up in the corner. And those are the ones he wrote. Can you imagine? I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. And they were operas, symphonies, concertos, great works for the choir. Yeah. His father's name was Leopold, and he had high hopes for his child. In those days, people didn't live a long life, and many of their children died before even childbirth because medicine hadn't advanced as far. Remember, a developing brain in the uterus hears and responds to the noise that they're hearing or the neurotransmitters that the mother is producing in her brain, her serotonin, that dopamine, which goes through the umbilical cord based on her social life, too. Is she playing music? Is it a loving family? Is there a lot of conflict in the house? Is it reflected in the baby? Okay? Let's talk about the primordial soup that the infant is living in the uterus, that the umbilicus is flowing the blood through the infant's body. The mother sang to him, the father played the violin to him while Wolfgang was in the uterus, his little present, controlled by the parents. You see how important that is. They would actually they created a family song. Do it for your family. Do it for your family. A song that all of you know, and they sang it while he was being born. You could do that. Create a musical birth. Create a musical birth. You can't be there to sing to him or her. At least maybe have it on a CD, but have them play some music while he or she is being born. Maybe sing like Dr. Island's wife that I described to you. I still can't believe that I spoke to her. And she said, I had no pain. I was singing 2 or 3 songs, Dr. Cashman, you suggested. And but she did have an advantage. She had lived in Russia, and her job was to be an opera singer that walked around the table in restaurants with a glass of wine in her hand. I'm not suggesting that. And she would sing songs. So when they would come to my lectures, after the lectures I was giving, I took them to a restaurant, 5 or 6 of us, after I gave a 1-hour talk, which I gave once a month at a different hospital, always on the mind and the body or something. They would come. I would have her get up, walk around the table, singing us a song. Can you just imagine the joy? That used to be in the restaurant. It's now called the Tequila Restaurant. Okay, but can you imagine? I can remember those beautiful days. So develop a family song. I think this is a good one. So traditionally, music has always been part of a childbirth. Yeah, years ago, actually, that was part. And it's still done a lot in the Middle East, Nigeria, during childbirth. That have belly dancers going around the mother in labor. I think we need some of this in this country, and I think we'd have happier infants and healthier infants. Then the infant being born has a strong connection to music, and if you're dancing and moving at the same time, can you imagine how the people are feeling around the mother? Okay, listening is okay, but movement is more fun. I can vouch to that. I don't dance as much as I used to because of the virus thing, but I used to at least twice a week go somewhere and dance, even after tennis sometimes. I remember playing tennis and coming across town, and I went to this restaurant, and they had dancing in the back, and I was just going to dance one and then go to bed. But I swear I was there 3 hours. It's how it made me feel. Sometimes dancing with 2 or 3 people at once, it made me feel that good. It was nothing personal. And it was just, it put a great feeling in me. I slept because when I got home, went to sleep like that. And I remember what I said, listening's okay, but movement makes it more fun. And Lamaze is a way of adapting to music. Breath technology, breathing rapidly and short, taking 3 breaths and then really speeding up is a good way because it helps relax you. And so we can create a blanket of rhythm. And we have critical windows for all learning, okay? And it can be organic, physiological, cognitive, emotional, but the learning is the most extensive between age 6 and 8. So to provide that for your children, maybe before they go to bed, have them all get up and you all hold hands and you all dance and sing. What a wonderful thing that would be. You'd have a great family. So children can learn anything when touching, hearing, seeing, when they're doing something, they learn a lot better. Maybe give you a little math class while they're dancing. So, and to recite poetry of sound is a good thing too. And here's another book, The Healing at the Speed of Sound by Don Campbell. Remember I said Don Campbell is the books you want or a CD. How what we hear transforms our brains and our lives. So The Healing at the Speed of Sound is one of the many books which he wrote. I suggest go to the library or Amazon and buy one of those. And in the back, he has tremendous number of references that lead to CDs and DVDs that you can get. And here's a chapter, The Tapping Point. And in earlier chapters, I pointed to the increasing popularity of drumming circles, another form of music making which also serves to unify a group into ecstatic bonded whole. So if you go to the music centers in town here, and they'll have drumming circles. They have emotional release. They are movement, and community choruses and orchestras, folk-based music making events, and drumming circles all work naturally to strengthen group identity and bring a community in tune with its own shared values and aims. And churches can be an example of that. We can have a choir, and we all sing. It helps unite us. And so that we can recite poetry while we're singing. So the right side of the brain is really the auditory cortex, but music is all over the brain. But actually it's more in the right ear. It picks up pitch, melody, harmony, timbre, rhythm, response to frequency, the hertz, the number of vibrations, and intensity is picked up more on the right side of the brain. Okay? The surface of the cortex, the top of our brain, responds more to low frequency. And high frequency centers more in the middle of the brain. They've studied that. Strong beat throughout the body. Yeah, a strong beat, and I can see the point, is felt throughout the body, perhaps your skin, in your organs, and involves more of the sympathetic and autonomic nervous system. So movement and a strong beat, and you know some of the African dances that you've seen, it affects the way they're feeling. And you may not pick up on it as much if you're just watching, but you'll pick up something. But if you're doing it yourself, you're going to have more effects. And you can design your music for a different part of the day. Some music that you wake up with. Alexa, play Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. Okay? And then for lunch, maybe a different. And design the sound for yourself. And John Bach plays a coffee cantata. You might want to do that when you're having your morning cup of coffee, like I did today. It's Alexa, play John Bach's coffee cantata, and it came right up. It relaxed me twice as much as the coffee did. So move to the beat, okay? And music entrains, it pulls you in. You develop larger muscles, your heartbeat increases, your breathing rate goes down, it lowers your blood pressure. And increases your adrenaline a little bit, and you won't be as hungry and overeat and be unhealthy. And so when we want to cool down, we might want to play some chilling music, people who use bicycles and runners, if they're listening to the music, they like a brisk tempo, and they do indeed go faster. Okay? So music from Queen, Madonna, Red Hot Chili Peppers, treadmill runners might like to use them too. So bring music into your life. It improves your ability, your strength, your emotions, and the hearing and listening are really a lot different, okay? And background music should be like a sonic cocoon, like a warm blanket, like in the womb. If you want some background music to what you're doing, or maybe you're reading, okay? So other type of music, if you want to go to sleep, some of us have trouble sleeping the whole night through, might pick certain music with certain hertz that keeps it very even and slowly puts you to sleep. Okay? So the role of our ears acts as a dynamo, stimulates our brain, keeps us awake. Okay? Controls our balance and coordination. The eyes and the ears are connected. They're the muscles of our body and our eyes. Our ears are muscles of our body and our eyes. They control the quality of our speech. Our ears affect the quality of our speech. Instinct. The skin and bones received transmitted sound. Traumatis said the human body is designed like an antenna. Remember, you hear better when you stand up. The body is designed like an antenna. It's sending and receiving messages. Isn't that interesting? And some cultures do spiritual doo-wops, mantras, mind energy, om, 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 short repeated words or phrases. They came really almost from creation. Quiets the mind. You repeat these mantras, and it quiets the mind, increase concentration, decrease stress, and they represent life. And I need to think about it. I need to sing about it. Sending and messaging, exercising, musical, great exercise. Lets the left brain speak to the body. Most of our speech centers are on the left side. Remember I said the musical part of the brain is more on the right, although it's all over the brain, but more on the right. Okay? A good one, which I do, and I've written about 5 of them, is something called spoken word. That's giving a message really in poetry. I have written about 5. One I have walking through nature. Oh, what a beautiful morning. The black red-winged birds are singing to me. I'm singing back. I look at the leaves. I'm connecting with nature. And I wrote a spoken word poem about it. And I wrote one about how to get rid of diabetes, how to get rid of stress. So that really is a connection too. And we've spoken about musical intelligence and infants connecting with the mother through music. And they can hear before they can speak, but they're more likely to speak sooner if they develop the musical part of their brain. And so the brain and music, they connect. This central nervous system, remember our nerves too, not just our brain, are like a symphony. they're like a symphony, unconscious but expressive. And our ears are the conductor. They are the conductor. And the brain and the body is a symphony playing all different instruments, but they're all interconnected to what they're hearing. And the corpus callosum connects the right and left hemisphere, and it becomes thicker as we get older. And so our appreciation, participation in music and movement and speech increase as we are growing. Our brain is growing. And so people who have no exposure to music, they have trouble with the pitch of a sound. That's why exposing children, infants, to music is important. Okay? So they may finish high school if they've never been exposed. And if they have not been exposed to music by that time or musical movement, they will not be able to dance well, sing well, appreciate music well. So bring music into the life of your children at a very young age. And so rap and unrap. So you hear about rapping, and I've contributed to musical groups where rapping was part of it, and actually they rapped to some of my spoken words I've written, which was kind of interesting. So rap and unrap, really bad. That's the way I feel. Can't they see I get a bad deal? If they only listened to what I had to say, I wouldn't feel as bad each and every day. So poetry and music, and you could, rap to that. Today I was tired. Today I was bored. Today I was stuck and feeling like muck. I started to rap. I started to move. And I did it for only 5 seconds, and I was in a new groove. So start rapping, moving their feet to the music. It doesn't have to be for a long time, and you will feel better quickly. And remember, I said humming and doing the om. Really, what you're doing, expressing the voice of the universe. A newborn likes to hear some music. Remember, the brain will develop better and be more likely to be a happy, healthy, intelligent baby. So, to summarize it, I would highly encourage you to bring music into your life. Maybe read Don Campbell's book, The Mozart Effect, for children, and many other books he has. Maybe order some of his DVDs, CDs. I don't know him, but to me, I've always taught how to prevent disease, how to be healthy. If you bring music into your life, and your whole family holds hands and sing songs and moving and dancing together, you will have very healthy children, happy children, non-depressed children, and a wonderful family. And when you reach age 100, looking good, feeling good, call me, and I'll tap dance with you. Thanks for listening to the show. And this will be on YouTube within a couple of weeks. And you could read some of these books for additional knowledge and teach it to your children. I really enjoyed giving this talk to you today, and I do it because I care about you. Thanks for watching.